I would like to call this meeting to order for the City Council meeting of April 5th, 2022. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll and make the announcement about accessing the meeting?
Yes, Madam Mayor, sorry about that. In order to participate in the City Council meeting virtually, please register to speak using the link on the agenda under public comment or call 1-669-900-9128 and use webinar ID code number 843-6581-9417. To raise your hand to speak on a particular agenda item, please use the raise hand button on the Zoom meeting portal. If you are using a phone, please press star 9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand to speak. Press star 6 to unmute your phone. When it is your time to speak, your microphone will be unmuted for the allotted time by the mayor and will be muted upon completion of your comments. Councilmember Cordero?
Here.
Councilmember Escobedo?
Here.
Councilmember Soto? Here. Councilmember Waterfield? Present. Madam Mayor Patino?
Here. First on the agenda this evening is a presentation of the businesses of the month. And Mr. Morris, good evening. You will be making those presentations with me.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. It's a pleasure to be back with you again this month to recognize 2 additional businesses in our community. As you know, this year we are focusing our recognition on 2 different types of businesses, women-owned businesses and manufacturers in the community. Before I begin, is Lorene Murphy here? Lorene, there we go. All right. Come and join me. Lorene is a representative today from Care Connection Transport Services. Their owner is Nancy Crawford, and she's out of town this evening. Is that right? So thanks for stepping in, and you probably helped make it happen anyway, right? So let me tell you just a little bit about Care Connection Transport Services. They provide essential, non-emergency medical transportation throughout the Central Coast. The company was founded in 2019. In the last year alone, their business has grown by 64%, and they've had to increase their fleet from 1 van to 8 vehicles. They're now providing services throughout all of Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, and now into Ventura counties. They have 18 employees here in the community. I thought this was a really interesting point, that during the pandemic, one of the things they stepped up to do was to support Community Partners in Caring, one of our other local nonprofits, by providing free prescription and grocery deliveries to the elderly members of that organization. They're on target to grow by an additional 40% this year, and just by a little moment of notice, in 2020 they were actually the Small Business of the Year for the community. So with that, I would like to introduce Lorene Murphy to representing Care Connection Transport Services. Do you want to say a couple of words, and then we'll get a picture with you and the mayor?
Care Connection has been through the pandemic with the rest of us. And if you look at our company, it's like the ambulance takes them to the hospital, and we take you home. So, patients, shut-ins, or patients that aren't able to get home, and we take you through and put you in your bed and make you comfortable within your home. So we take a lot of pleasure in servicing our community throughout Ventura all the way up to San Luis Obispo, Templeton, the whole Central Coast. So.
Zachary, you want to join me as well? So our next business is our manufacturer for this month, and it is Saffron Cabin Santa Maria, and representing them today is their general manager, Zachary Farger. So many of you probably know of or about Saffron, and if you don't know them by that name, you might know them by Zodiac Aerospace. And If you've been around a while and that name isn't familiar, it might be C&D Aerospace. So this is a company that has been in our community since 1989, producing cabin interior components for commercial and private aircraft. One of the things that I think is really unique about the Santa Maria facility is that this is really where all of the design work is done for that division. And so they manufacture a lot of that here, and we love that too. But this is where the creative, the real brain power kind of stuff goes into the design of those components. So if you really think about the way this is probably oversimplifying, Zach, but the way I think about their products is if it hangs on the wall of the aircraft, right? If it hangs on that outer frame, shell of the aircraft, they probably had a hand in making it. Today, they have over 500 employees in our community and are actively looking to hire. So if you know of some really smart engineers, manufacturing technicians, anybody else that you're looking for?
Program management, so it's a range of professional positions, and we're always actively recruiting and hiring. And it's good. We prefer to hire local, so we do spend a lot of time at Cal Poly job fairs, working with Allen Hancock College to partner with them. We've been involved in their STEM program to ensure that they have a machine technology department, because we need a lot of those CAD, CAM programmers and machinists as well. So we've been working very closely with them.
So I love the fact that they hire both from Cal Poly, but also from Allen Hancock, and really providing that full range of professional opportunities for folks in our community. I also think it's notable that their employees are very active in our community. I know one of the things they've been doing for years is adopting some of our local elementary schools. They go in and help clean them up, paint the playgrounds, do murals on the walls of the buildings, really just trying to be good community partners for a number of years, and really providing those head of household kinds of jobs that we need for our neighbors and our families. So congratulations to Zach and the team at Saffron Cabins Santa Maria.
I know Saffron's been very involved in the community. A lot of businesses say they want to get involved in the community, but they really have, and not just for a year or two. It's been ongoing for years, and especially when they help out at the schools, that's so much appreciated. The next item this evening is a proclamation, and Councilmember Cordero will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This proclamation is for Arbor Day. And here to receive it is our own Dennis Smitherman. I was going to introduce him as Denise Smitherman, but Dennis Smitherman from our Parks and Rec. Proclamation, whereas Arbor Day is celebrated nationally to encourage Americans to maintain and replenish the country's vast forest, orchards, urban areas, and woodlands. And whereas the residents of Santa Maria recognize that trees are vital resources in beautifying the community's environment by relieving our carbon footprint and serving as a valuable economic asset to the city, maintaining or increasing property values and attracting businesses and new residents to the city of Santa Maria. And whereas by educating children in the community about the importance of trees in the city of Santa Maria, Recreation and Parks Department is working to ensure Arbor Day remains an important day to future generations, and to coordinating activities with the local school districts to educate children on the many benefits that trees provide, as well as the history of Arbor Day. And whereas through an Arbor Day proclamation, President Theodore Roosevelt announced a people without children would face hopeless future, and a country without trees is almost hopeless. The President's message still rings true today, and whereas the City of Santa Maria acknowledges the State of California's proclamation encouraging the celebration of trees, now therefore, Alice Patino, Mayor for the City of Santa Maria, hereby recognizes April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the City of Santa Maria and invites all residents and businesses to celebrate and take part in the festivities by planting trees and acknowledging the important role trees have in the city. This is witnessed by our mayor and signed on this 19th day of April 2022, and here to receive this, as I said, is Dennis and Rebecca Carey.
Good evening. Trees are often described as the lungs of the earth. Without them, there would be no life on this planet, which we're all aware. But in the interest of reminding everybody of the crucial financial impact of trees, I'm going to give you a few facts. 10 economic facts about trees. The 3.8 billion trees in U.S. cities are worth $2.4 trillion. I know. Living on a tree-filled block makes you healthier and is equivalent to earning $10,000 more a year. Yep. Trees keep us $7 billion healthier by reducing air pollution. Trees can cut air conditioning costs by up to 56%. Trees sell homes nearly 2 days faster. Homeowners get 109% return for every dollar invested in landscaping, trees included. Trees can reduce heating by up to 50%. Landscaping adds up to 11% more value to your home. People spend 9 to 12% more at stores with trees on the street. So lastly, trees enhance the quality of life for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Recreation and Parks Department and the library would like to invite you to a ceremony at Robert Bruce Elementary School on the 29th of this month, starting at 8:15. There's going to be a riveting reading of Call Me Tree, and then we will be doing some sample planting, and you each have a little pine tree in front of you. Let's let it grow and come back next year and see how well you did. Then we'll also be planting a tree at the school that morning as well and presenting a certificate to the school. So we hope you can make it. It starts at 8:15 on the 29th.
And that's Robert Bruce, you said?
Robert Bruce.
Okay, 8:15.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Carey, for reading all of those little bits on trees. I know that Ms. Carey really cares about trees, and if anyone tries to cut a tree down, she will probably lay herself in front of the tree and want to know why before it's ever cut down. Anyway, thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Smitherman. Next, we have another proclamation, and Councilmember Waterfield will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and it is with great honor to give this proclamation in regards to the National Day of Prayer. I think I get to do it every year, and it's always been my favorite. Whereas National Day of Prayer is an annual event established by an act of Congress which encourages Americans to pray for the nation, its people, and its leaders. And whereas days of prayers have been called for since 1775, when the Continental Congress designated a time for prayer in forming a new nation. And whereas in 1863, Abraham Lincoln called for such a day. And whereas officially Day of Prayer was established as an annual event by act of Congress in 1952 and was signed into law by President Truman. And whereas the law was amended in 1988 and signed by President Ronald Reagan establishing the Day of Prayer as the first Thursday of May each year. And whereas Day of Prayer affords everyone the ability to exercise their freedom, to gather and to pray, to unify hearts, communities, and the country while holding dear their faith, freedoms, and to one another as fellow Americans. And whereas the City of Santa Maria is celebrating its 25th Annual Day of Prayer, continuing the spiritual legacy of instituting times of thankfulness and renewed reliance on each desired faith. Now therefore, Alice M. Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby recognizes the 5th day of prayer, recognizes the 5th day of May 2022 as Day of Prayer in the City of Santa Maria, and encourages people of all faiths to participate in the Day of Prayer according to their traditions. And you know, Madam Mayor, and this is for everybody, when you go back to the 75, when the Continental Congress designated a time for prayer in forming this new nation, they couldn't have done it without it. You know, they couldn't have done it with Almighty God leading them and guiding them with their Constitution that was instituted then, still stands today, not knowing what the future was going to bring. So I just think that is just absolutely amazing, and I really appreciate the City of Santa Maria continuing to recognize the National Day of Prayer, but also that we start prayer out each city council meeting. And I hope we keep it forever and ever. And to accept this is Lisa Pedroki and Mabel Valle.
Thank you so much, and amen to Councilman Waterfield. It is so true. We are so blessed here in this valley, and your support of celebrating our 25th annual. And we have been known throughout the state and actually throughout the nation as one of the very largest. And I really believe this year is going to be our largest.
Yeah.
And we have continued, even through COVID, we still kept our tradition. 2 years ago, it was pre-recorded, and last year it was in the parking lot of the Santa Maria Fair Park. This year it's going to be back indoors.
Great.
From 11:30 to 1 in the Park Pavilion building, and we're just really looking forward to another blessed day. And Mabel will be our keynote speaker this year, so we're
Great.
delighted.
Yes.
So thank
And
you so
Mabel's husband is in the back. He's one of our finest officers, so this is great.
We have another proclamation, and Councilmember Escobedo will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to double check before, Valerie, is it Valerie Trenep? Trenep, sorry. So this proclamation is for recognizing Medical Laboratory Professionals Week. Whereas the 2022 Lab Week theme is Back to the Lab, celebrating our past as we look into our futures, recognizes that laboratory professionals perform tests that can discover a health issue even before symptoms occur. And whereas professionals who practice in the medical laboratory are invaluable members of the patient's healthcare team, and whereas these well-educated and highly trained health professionals who perform and evaluate medical laboratory tests to detect, diagnose, monitor, and prevent disease, save countless lives each day. And whereas their dedication to quality medical testing and exceptional patient care are demonstrated daily in numerous laboratories along the Central Coast, and whereas there are 18 chapters statewide of the California Association of Medical Technology, and the local San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara chapter supports each of the Dignity Health Central Coast Hospital. Hereby, many of its members, professionals, live and work in the city of Santa Maria. And whereas the chapter will use this week to educate the public about the key role laboratories professionals play and enhance the image of clinical laboratories professionals in the public and private sectors. Here, therefore, Alice M. Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby recognize the week of April 24th through the 30th of 2022 as the Medical Laboratory Professional Week in the City of Santa Maria, and encourage residents and businesses to recognize the vital contribution of the local chapter of the California Association of Medical Technology. And this proclamation will be accepted by Valerie Trenet.
Thank you. My name is Valerie Trenev, and I worked at Marion Medical Center Laboratory for 25 years. I actually left the lab in 2015 and became an elementary school teacher, or I'm sorry, I became a teacher in 1996. I worked both jobs for 18 years, and I left the lab in 2015. I'm coming up on 25 years. I'm going to retire from the school. I'm going to go back to the lab for 2 years. So it's such an honor for me to come before the City Council and the mayor and our community and law enforcement and everyone in this room, because everything you're talking about is so dear to my heart. Trees, kids, education, and the idea that we have professionals working round the clock in laboratories throughout the Central Coast and beyond, especially through the pandemic. The last 2 years have been crazy. And I am actually the state president of the California Association for Medical Laboratory Technology. I've been the state president for 3 years. And it is my pleasure to serve and just let the community know about the important, wonderful work that these professionals do. And it's not just the clinical laboratory scientists, which are at the top of the pecking order, but rather our phlebotomists who take your blood, and the medical technicians who run it, lab assistants too. And all of these people need to be celebrated. So this week, we're gonna have a lot of fun, and those people will be honored by the pathologists and the doctors and everything. So thank you so much for this. I appreciate it, and I'll be sharing it with my colleagues.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I can't imagine everything you do, but you're really unsung heroes, because there's so much that goes on back there that we don't even know about. And especially these past 2 years, I can't even imagine everything you do, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, just want to add on that comment. Thank you for what you guys do. Sometimes, when you don't go to the doctor until you're sick, until it's already happening. And I'm a big believer on preventing before, because it's easier to deal with something, and sometimes we feel good, but we don't really know what's going on. And I think this is an invitation for everybody right now. Even if you feel good, just go and do a quick checkup and see how things are going. So thank you so much for what you guys do.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Cordero.
Valerie, didn't you used to do blood draws at the?
Yeah, I used to do illegal alcohols as a lab.
Right, I remember that. I remember taking them there. I didn't remember giving them there. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You've had a very diverse background. Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Thank
that's
you.
great.
You could probably tell some stories.
And I want everyone to know, Mr. Cordero came to my school, we did a diabetes fun run, and you helped make fruit shish kebabs in my kitchen
Yep.
at the school. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And the cooks came back the next day, they were so mad. They said, oh, you used our paper, and you used our kitchen. I said, you know what? It was fantastic. You did a great job.
But thank you very much.
Thank you. We have another proclamation, and Councilmember Waterfield will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas organ tissue, marrow, and blood donations are life-giving acts recognized worldwide as expressions of compassion to those in need. More than 106,000 individuals nationwide, more than 20,000 in California, are currently on the National Organ Transplant waiting list, and On average, 17 people die each day while waiting due to the shortage of donated organs. And whereas the need for donated organs is especially urgent in Hispanic, Latino, and African American communities. And whereas a single individual's donation of the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestines can save up to 8 lives. Donations of tissues can save and heal the lives of more than 75 others, and a single blood donation can help 3 people in need. And whereas millions of lives each year are saved and healed by donors of organs, tissue, marrow, and blood, the spirit of giving and decisions to donate are not restricted by age or medical condition. And California residents interested in saving a life through living kidney donations are encouraged to visit www.livingdonationcalifornia.org for more information. I will repeat that, www.livingdonationcalifornia.org. Whereas Santa Maria residents can sign up with the Donate Life California Registry when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID cards at the Department of Motor Vehicles. Now therefore, Alice M. Patillo, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby recognize April 22 as National Donate Life Month in the City of Santa Maria and encourages everyone to check yes when applying for or renewing their driver's license or ID card, or by signing up at donatelifecalifornia.org or donvitacalifornia.org. That is donatelifecalifornia.org or donvitacalifornia.org. And here to accept this proclamation is Scott Burns. Great.
Council member, thank you very much for the proclamation. This proclamation will be used in a regional event that we're going to have a run walk in a month or so, and then this will go on the wall at the local DMV. I give presentations to the DMV 3 or 4 times a year. Organ donations, everybody thinks about it, but they don't really pay attention until you need it. You're about 3 times as likely to need an organ donation than you are to be an organ donor. About 95% of the people, when they did a study, wanted to donate their organs. They were in favor of it. But only 55% actually had signed up for a pink dot in their driver's license. People say, well, I'm too old, or I'm too sick, I'm too this. No, you're really not. The oldest living donor was 96 years old for a kidney. The oldest deceased donor, their kidney was 102 years old. So don't think that you're too old. Sign up, and by the time you die, the rules will be changing. 7 years ago, I got a kidney. I was out at Santa Cruz Island, and the Santa Barbara Harbor Patrol came by, picked me up, and took me home. Went to Cedars-Sinai Hospital, got a kidney transplant. Wow. The next morning, a kidney was working very well, but that's only part of the story. Vivian Boutel, who died, she collapsed in her gym, turned out to be not a stroke, but a
Aneurysm?
Aneurysm, thank goodness, I should know this, do this. Not only did I get her kidney, someone else got her other kidney. A lady who became a friend of mine, Connie, got her lungs, somebody else got her heart, and someone else got her liver. So a lot of things come. When it's her birthday, her family is still upset that she's not around, but they realized they were able to help so many other people. Thank you very much for this presentation, and I will pass it on, and the DMV will get it locally. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Burns? Thank you.
Thank you.
I enjoy hearing that story all the time because it reminds us, like you say, we forget that we can even be useful after we've gone and how important it is to other people.
I'm amazed that our organs don't age, apparently. You know, they're just, they just keep on going.
My mom lives on Bunny Avenue. She's 104 years old. At her kidney isn't working as well as she'd like it to, but they do age, but they're still useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have the public comment period. Madam Clerk, could you please read the criteria? Oh, I'm sorry.
We have fair housing. So my name today.
I crossed through it. I'm sorry.
It's the first mistake she's ever made.
I know. The final proclamation this evening will be presented by Councilmember Soto.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And that's an important one, too. So,
This proclamation is in honor of Fair Housing Month. Whereas the City of Santa Maria recognizes that the United States Congress enacted Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, which was amended by the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 and the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988 as a directive for fair housing. And whereas fair housing laws outlined by said acts guarantee the rights of equal housing opportunities for all residents of the United States, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or family status. And whereas the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development declares the month of April 2022 as Fair Housing Month. And whereas the City of Santa Maria contracts with Legal Aid Foundation of Santa Barbara County to perform random testing of fair housing practices of landlords and property managers, reviews local newspapers for evidence of housing discrimination, assists in resolving discrimination disputes through litigation or referral, makes presentations to Santa Maria adult education classes regarding rights of single parents and ethnic minorities to equal housing opportunities, and conducts community workshops to educate landlords and property managers regarding fair housing. Now, therefore, Alice Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby recognizes the month of April as Fair Housing Month in the city and encourages the continued celebration of equal housing opportunities and the progress made in opening the doors to housing opportunities for all residents in the city. And here to accept this proclamation is Mayra Marin from Legal Aid Foundation.
Good evening. On behalf of Legal Aid Foundation, I would like to thank Madam Mayor Patino, the council, and the city for its commitment to fair housing. Legal Aid is grateful to provide important fair housing services for the community. Thank you.
Excuse me. Could you sort of, you have an opportunity, could you sort of tell the public what you guys do and the information you give out and who you help and what you do here in Santa Maria?
Of course. So,
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I think it's very important, and people really need to know that we have this available.
yes, so the Legal Aid Foundation of Santa Barbara County has 3 offices. The Santa Maria office is across the street from the courthouse, and we provide fair housing services with presentations, legal information about the Fair Housing Act. We also provide legal services to low-income individuals and families who may be facing fair housing discrimination based on race, religion, family status, or disability, among other things. And we do random testing. We check online posting to make sure that there isn't fair housing discrimination, because we have to assert the rights for the tenants.
Thank you. Okay, next we have the public comment portion. Madam Clerk, could you please read the criteria for the public comment portion of the agenda?
This time is reserved to accept comments from the public on consent agenda items, closed session items, or matters not otherwise scheduled on the printed agenda this evening. Unless otherwise directed by the mayor, speakers will have 3 minutes to comment. Direction to staff may be given, however, state law does not allow action to be taken on matters not on the printed agenda. Once the public comment period commences, no other speakers will be allowed to submit a request to speak forum.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam Mayor. We have 5 present in chambers, and I will check on our Zoom
Okay.
feed in just a moment. But before we move on, I just wanted to announce that we had 2 written communications from, one from Denise Sullivan about a correction to previous comments about a recent encampment cleanup, and second from Ms. LaWanda Lyons-Pruitt, representing the local NAACP, supporting the Santa Maria Police Department's request for use of body cameras. Copies of those communications were provided on the dais this evening. And here are the 5 speakers.
Thank you. Hunter Jameson, followed by Gary Hall, followed by Peggy Brierton.
Thank you. My name is Hunter Jameson. I am a resident of Santa Maria and a homeowner. Honorable members of the council, you have before you on this evening's consent agenda item 3H, which would approve a feasibility study for forming a citywide landscape maintenance district to pay for city park operations. Approving this study would set in motion a process by which homeowners and other property owners could wind up paying additional taxes outside Proposition 13 limits for up to the next 20 years. Before or as you approve this feasibility study, I would ask that you build into this process consideration of an alternate and possibly fairer method of finance. The city already has several landscape maintenance districts paid for by property owners in those districts, including me. It can reasonably be argued that these landscaping charges, which are substantial, benefit those property owners by maintaining or enhancing the value of their properties. A citywide assessment to support city parks is much different. It is clear from the proposal before you that the intended beneficiaries are all city residents, not primarily property owners. It is highly preferable that the city live within its current revenue sources. If it absolutely cannot, then, in order to more fairly apportion costs among all beneficiaries, I suggest that you direct that the Finance Department determine the amount and duration of a designated sales tax that would pay for the park costs after they are calculated by the feasibility study. The City Council then could weigh whether to submit the tax measure to voters or to proceed to the final stages of setting up the special taxing district by giving property owners individual notice and an opportunity to protest. I respectfully request that you consider adding these directions and conditions now to this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Hall, followed by Peggy Brierton, followed by Esther Jensen.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. It's maybe appropriate that we piggyback on the back of Fair Housing Month, and we are all here, my mobile home residents and friends, looking for fair housing opportunity. My name is Gary Hall. I'm a resident of Rancho Buena Vista Mobile Estates at 2135 North Railroad Avenue here in Santa Maria. I represent the North Santa Barbara County Mobile Homeowners team. I want to first introduce a whole bunch of mobile home residents that are here primarily from La Maria. If you'd like to all stand, be recognized. There you are. There they are. We're here. And that's their message. They're here. Dozens of my fellow homeowners from several different Santa Maria mobile home parks have attended numerous past council meetings. Many have poured their hearts out, pleading for your help. Those pleas have apparently fallen on deaf ears. Madam Mayor and City Manager Stillwell, I have a question specifically for the two of you. Since we now have received verbal support from 2 council members, shouldn't that be sufficient to get mobile home rent stabilization on the city council meeting agenda of a future meeting? Please provide me that answer this week, please. I personally choose not to believe that democracy is dead in Santa Maria, as was suggested in the recent op-ed in the Santa Maria Sun. I choose to believe that you 5 council members can be responsive to the needs of us, the tax-paying, voting mobile home residents of Santa Maria. Please find the courage to respond to our needs. Please tell us what is required to finally be given the chance to get mobile home rent stabilization on the agenda, to have fair and open debate, to allow us the chance to dispel park owners' rumors of potentially negative outcomes. Argue the property rights of the mobile homeowners are just as important as the property rights of the park owners who don't even live in Santa Maria. Or fix and renegotiate the failed model lease and enforcement agreement, and or consider our proposed mobile home rent stabilization ordinance. The mobile home residents of Santa Maria need and deserve your help. You have a chance to provide that help and to protect mobile home space affordability. Please take the necessary action. Thank you.
Thank you. Peggy Brierton, followed by Esther Jensen.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Peggy Brierton, resident of Casa del Rio. I believe we can all agree that affordable housing is important and worth protecting. I attended the last council meeting and listened to staff's report on the housing update. And Council Member Waterfield, you referenced the state regulations that making it difficult to build affordable housing, and said regulations are why we don't have more. During the goal-setting workshop I attended earlier this year, the facilitator talked about Santa Maria becoming a model for other communities. Here is your opportunity. Create policy that keeps manufactured home parks in the affordability category. I'm asking council to do what you can to help keep affordable housing we have here and now. Thank you.
Thank you. Esther Jensen, followed by Eileen Armijo.
Good evening. I'm Esther Jensen from La Maria Mobile Home Park. In looking through my papers, I've discovered I've been coming to the City Council since 2019, asking for you to please consider rent stabilization for mobile homes. Most of the parks in Santa Maria are occupied by seniors and low-income families. We're asking for your consideration. We are members of this community and certainly deserve consideration. Our rent goes up yearly based on the annual CPI. If property tax goes up, that's passed on to us also. At the park, rent increases 10% every time a unit is sold. Why? It isn't any additional expense for the owner of the ground unit it sits on. He's just collecting rent from a different individual. Does it surprise you to note that the economy is going through the roof today, and it makes us who are on fixed and low incomes really struggle? Income remains pretty much the same, but the cost of living has gotten out of control. I ask you, will you please take some time to look at this growing problem? You are affecting the health and welfare of your voting public. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jensen. Eileen Armijo.
I'm Eileen Armijo, and I live in La Maria Mobile Home Park. I was going to write something, but I'm going to go from the heart. I live in a park with a lot of seniors. It's a senior park. And you see the unaffordability of the park. Our park has some of the highest rents in the community, in the city of Santa Maria. And we are one of the parks that was not, our owners chose not to be part of the the lease program, the model lease. They chose it. So it's not enforceable. It does nothing for us. And our rent keeps going up. And you tell me why we have the least amenities in a park. You look at some of the other parks, they have a yard, they have a garage, and our park has a carport. It has a small pool. It does not have amenities, and we pay more rent than somebody who lives in Quail Meadows. The unfairness is just so out there. Why can't we get on the agenda, at least have a fair discussion? We've been at this since 2018. I went to those discussion groups that we had to do with the owners and watched the lawyer for the owners take control of the groups and lead the conversation the way they wanted, and watched our ideas and our wants get pushed aside. So let us get on the agenda, at least have an open discussion on what needs to be done. You know, let us say what you tell us what you feel, and let us give you an answer back on why. It's affordable housing, but I look at people in our park, and a lady's so scared her husband's going to die, and she has to move because she can't make it on one Social Security. Our owners are a corporation. They are an LLC. And what does a corporation do but make money? It does not have a fairness in there. And that doesn't make them wrong, but they're a corporation. So there should be some boundaries in there for them as far as raising rent. So I'm appealing to you to at least give us an open avenue to speak with you personally and put us on the agenda. Because the other one, the meetings we had were not open. They were controlled by the park owners and their lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Armijo. Before we move on, Mr. Stillwell, did you have any comments?
Sure, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
So regarding item 3H, the assessment, so that came about from the last budget that the council adopted. We were looking at some significant reductions to recreation and park services, heard from the community. We have a structurally imbalanced budget there, and the council asked to look at some options to move forward to where we can continue to provide park services and expand our parks into new areas. So the proposal on item 3H is to analyze what our parks cost, what our options would be, and bring those back to council. So at this point, the council wouldn't be approving any tax or revenue change. It would be approving, conducting the analysis that would then come back to you for you to consider if you did want to move forward with any options at all.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent calendar, Madam Clerk, could you please read item number 3?
Routine items are presented for City Council approval without discussion as a single agenda item in order to expedite the meeting. The consent calendar is approved by roll call vote with one motion. These items are discussed only on the request of council members.
Thank you. Does anyone have items they wish to pull for discussion? None? None?
None, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Then I'd like to recommend to adopt the consent calendar as submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to discuss, to approve the consent calendar. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Waterfield?
Aye.
Councilmember Soto?
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Escobedo?
Aye.
Madam Mayor Patino?
Aye. Next, we have a public hearing. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title?
The City Council will consider introducing an ordinance adopting a military equipment use policy in accordance with California Assembly Bill number 481.
The staff report is being made by Police Chief Schneider.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm just going to go over the agenda report that you probably have all seen. Essentially, what happened is Governor Newsom in 2021 signed into law in September a military policy that was to be adopted by all California law enforcement agencies, and that was effective on January 1st of 2022. And how that was supposed to take place is that it was supposed to be presented to respective law enforcement's governing bodies, and in this case, for the city of Santa Maria, it's the city council. And the purpose of that is, again, to adopt a military use policy by ordinance, and that would be prior to law enforcement funding, acquiring, or using military equipment. And I do want to clarify, I think military equipment, I know for myself, when I first read it, felt like the things that we normally think we would acquire from the federal government, and many law enforcement agencies had done that for years. But under the government code, that definition has expanded, so it means things such as pepper ball, less lethal 40 millimeter sponge rounds, and beanbag, but it also means armored rescue vehicles as well. But it's just a broad definition, so it's not solely military acquired equipment. And to date, the only piece of military equipment that the Santa Maria Police Department possesses that falls under this definition is a Humvee vehicle, which is our DARE Humvee, and it's our community outreach vehicle. So we use that for outreach and communication with youth. So I just wanted to make sure I clarified that. And as far as the policy, we've abided by the mandates, and over 30 days ago, we posted on the city website under police services our inventory, our policy, and also our inventory to date of what we have at the police department. So with the adoption of this ordinance in the first reading, it will allow us, May 1st moving forward, to continue to use those items in our inventory to protect the community. And in the future, if there's things that we want to expand or ask that are new items, we will then come to council and request your approval. And it also provides the community input on how they may feel about those items. And it also mandates that we come back every year. So we would come back probably this time in 2023, and it provides some guidance on what we need to report back to our governing body as far as the equipment, and if there was any complaints and so on and so forth, then we would address those at that time. It's really, there's not too much more to add, but I feel free to ask any questions you might have of me.
Thank you. Any questions? Police Chief Schneider. Ms. Waterfield?
Would we ever request any type of military equipment?
Not that I can think of. I mean, absent some, National Guard were to come in for some natural disaster,
Right.
and they could potentially bring in some of their equipment for natural disasters. But as far as law enforcement, we're pretty self-contained, and we have our allied agencies that also have similar type of equipment, and that's normally what we would rely upon. And in our policy, it also accounts for each agency is going to have their own policy. So if we do get mutual aid, those agencies would then fall under their own policy, and we would follow ours, just like we normally do when we deploy people throughout the state. They follow our Santa Maria Police Department policy. So.
Great, thank you.
Oh, Mr. Escobedo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Chief. Just to basically, if I understand this ordinance correctly, it can be said that it's basically a step forward into transparency, because people will be able to see what is there and being able to also provide input. I see that there's a police at cityofsantamaria.org. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. When you review the legislation, it is for transparency, for just what you had said, gives input from the community and then to the governing body on how the community feels about that specific piece of equipment. And then also the other point is the demilitarization of civilian law enforcement. So that was another component that went into the legislation as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Madam Clerk, I'd like to open up public hearing. Do we have any requests to speak or written correspondence?
No, Madam Mayor, we have received neither.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing, bring this item back to the council. First, for the consideration of the ordinance adopting a military equipment use policy. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Escobedo?
Aye.
Councilmember Soto? Aye. Councilmember Waterfield?
Aye.
Madam Mayor Patino?
Aye. Chief Snyder, it seems to me that years ago, I remember we got what was called military equipment. It was like Band-Aids and wraps and cots.
Years ago, we got a lot of stuff.
We got a lot of stuff that wouldn't be, but that was military equipment that we got. I
Right.
remember we had loads of it.
Right, they did acquire quite a bit of that, and a vast majority of that is no longer, do we have that in possession? It was either too old or just wasn't useful.
Okay.
And so if you look under the government code, I think it's 7070 through 7075, it outlines the specific
Okay.
equipment that applies, and that type of things do not apply. It's more of the vehicles and
Okay.
less lethal.
Thank you. As you were talking, my mind started thinking, I remember loads and loads of Band-Aids for some reason. It was,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
considered from the military.
I
Okay,
remember that. Some of us remember that.
Thank you. Next, we have a public hearing. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title?
The City Council will conduct a public hearing and consider approving the issuance of revenue bonds by the California Statewide Communities Development Authority, not to exceed $60 million for the benefit of the Centennial Square Apartments.
Okay, the staff report is to be made by Director of Finance, Ms. Harvey.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, excuse me, council members, staff, and the public. We are here this evening to conduct a public hearing pursuant to the Federal Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, or TEFRA. TEFRA requires that a public hearing be held by the governing body of the jurisdiction in which the project to be financed is located, and that the governing body approve the proposed financing. The California Statewide Communities Development Authority, CSCDA, is a joint powers authority founded and sponsored by the League of California Cities and the California State Association of Counties. The CSCDA was created by the League and CSAC in 1988 to enable local government and eligible private entities access to low-cost, tax-exempt financing for projects that provide a tangible public benefit, contribute to social and economic growth, and improve the overall quality of life in the local communities throughout California. Centennial Square Apartments LP proposed to obtain tax-exempt financing in the amount not to exceed $60 million to finance the acquisition, construction, and development of a 184-unit multifamily rental housing project to be owned by and operated by the borrower and located at South Miller Street and Plaza Drive within the city of Santa Maria. The debt to be issued by the CSCDA will be the sole responsibility of Centennial Square Apartments LP, and the city will have no financial or legal obligations or responsibilities with regard to the repayment of the debt. All financing documents will carry disclaimers that the loan is not an obligation of the city. The city will also bear no cost in the issuance of the proposed debt. This is a private loan with the borrower and their bank. It is recommended that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the issuance of bonds by the CSCDA for the benefit of the Centennial Square Apartments LP. Such adoption is solely for the purposes of satisfying the requirements of TEFRA, the code, and the California Government Code Section 6500. Representatives of Centennial Square Apartments LP, Tim Fluch and James Hamill, are of the CSCDA are on Zoom tonight, so if you have any questions, they'll be happy to answer those for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council? Yeah. Mr. Escobedo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, one of my questions was if we have somebody from the organization here, so that's already answered. Just would like to clarify, in the situation where the company for some reason cannot build or, for any circumstances, is there do our taxpayers have any liability, the city, anything like that?
No, the city has no liability in this at all.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So this is just a formality that we have to go through just so that they can
That is correct.
dot other i's
And
and cross
all
their t's.
184 units will be affordable multifamily units.
I
Right.
believe.
That would be it.
So we could ask the
Oh.
consultants to,
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Oh,
Perfect.
oh.
we're looking down.
We have one live person here.
Yeah, we have a live person, okay.
Tell my wife.
Oh, that's good.
Man, you got a lot of guts.
I'm Tim Fletch. I'm with Dawson Holdings. I'm part of the borrowing entity, borrowing $60 million. Two of the units will be for employees, so that they will not necessarily be affordable, depending on what we pay the employees. But the rest will all be set aside at 30, 50, and 60% of the area median income.
Okay, now say that again. 30, 40, 50%, what was that?
10%, roughly, it's actually a little more than 10% of the units will be set aside for households who earn no more than 30% of the area median income.
Okay.
That's adjusted for family size. Another 10%, a little more than that, will be set aside for families that earn no more than 50% of the area median income.
Okay.
And the balance of the units will be at 60% of the area median income.
Oh, okay, very good.
And there's a rent formula that keeps it so that they're not paying more than 30% of their income, rent and utilities.
So that they're not more than 60% of their income?
The calculation, and it's a standardized family size, but the rents are set on a formula based on 30% of their income at each of those income levels. And it's evenly distributed between 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units.
Okay. Mr. Cordero?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sir, since you guys are going to be working with this, will there be on-site management of this?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And any activities that require additional services, then you would handle those?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, just, what I'm trying to, I guess what I'm really getting around to asking is, if we start getting a lot of police calls and fire calls and things like that there that are draining our resources, is there somebody we can go to see if we can get that managed so that we can mitigate that problem?
So we will be engaging a professional property management company that manages literally thousands of these types of units. They happen to be based in Irvine, but they operate properties throughout the Central Coast region.
That was my next question is, have you done this before?
Oh.
You've answered that.
Yes, we've done, yeah, not our first rodeo.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. Waterfield?
This project has been through the Planning Commission several times. And so the last approved project, is that the 184 units?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hopefully, there's enough parking to be within the compound. And I believe we put a no parking on Plaza for the overflow. So I hope the parking is really manned there, because we've had many problems with apartments overflowing into neighborhoods and into businesses and into the whole thing. But Jason, that's something that we need to check on to make sure that we've got that no parking on Plaza. I believe we did, because I believe I requested that at that time. So just, make sure we've got the parking under control, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So I'd like to open up a public hearing. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak or written correspondence?
No, Madam Mayor, we have neither.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing and bring this item back to the council for any discussion and a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Can we restate what we're moving?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Adopt a resolution approving the issuance of revenue bonds by the California Statewide Community Development Authority to provide financing for the acquisition, construction, and development of a 184-unit multi-family rental housing project, generally known as Sentinel Square Apartments.
Thank you.
And Councilmember Soto, you second.
And she, the second, okay. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Waterfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Soto. Aye. Councilmember Escobedo.
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero.
Aye.
Madam Mayor Patino.
Aye. Thank you. Next, we have a regular business item. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title?
The City Council will consider the proposed local road safety plan, which provides a framework for organizing stakeholders to identify, analyze, and prioritize road safety improvements on local roads.
And the staff report is to be made by Interim Director of Public Works, Mr. Fulgoni.
Madam
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. I apologize for not being in person tonight. I came down with a bit of a bug, so my apologies. I have with me on the line Mr. Jim Demkowicz with DKS and Associates. They're the consultant that provided us with services to help us develop this agreement. And then also in attendance is our acting principal engineer, Mr. Mark Mueller. And so if there's any questions on the specifics and details of this, they're available for answers. So I just wanted to preface it with that. So with that, what is a local roadway safety plan and why do we need it? And that's what we'll go through tonight. So our agenda, the purpose and need of the local roadway safety plan, the plan development process, and the process that we went through in order to develop this plan, our public engagement that took place, and then the grant applications that we'll become eligible for, and the current status and next steps of the local roadway safety plan. So why develop a safety plan? From 2013 to 2021, 22 people died in traffic collisions in Santa Maria, and 169 were seriously injured. The safety plan will identify roadway solutions, roadway safety needs, and potential solutions. The Caltrans Highway Safety Improvement Program requires a local roadway safety plan to apply for grant funding. It will also continue a positive trend in safety improvement citywide. And as you can see below, in the peer group of our cities from 100 to 250,000 residents in California, in 2017, we were the 9th worst in terms of roadway safety. In 2018, we were the 12th worst. And in 2019, the 23rd worst. So while we're still in the worst category, we're getting better. And the local roadway safety plan will help us accomplish that. So another thing that this will do is it'll make Santa Maria more competitive for obtaining state funding for safety improvements. And then it'll also facilitate a partnership with Caltrans to coordinate safety improvements. And as we go through this plan, you'll see quite a bit of involvement will be required from Caltrans. And here's a brief summary of the different types of incidents that we've had in Santa Maria and where we rank. And so if the higher the number, so like type of arrest, DUI arrest, OTS ranking 58 of 59, the higher the number, the worse we are. The lower the number, the better we are. And so these are some different areas within the city of how we perform based among 59 cities that's in our peer group, that are in our peer group.
Sorry to interrupt. Is that in the? I'm trying to find it on the PDF document. It's kind of hard to see it. What page is it?
In the
or is this there?
slideshow, I'd have to look at the LRSP. I don't know, Jim or Mark, you guys know where?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Escobedo, no, the OTS rankings are not in the LRSP.
Oh.
They are available online if you'd like to see 2018, 2019 rankings as well. And Brett, I'd like to correct that the higher the number, the better the ranking. The lower the number, the worse.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So 58 to 59 would be, we're doing great on DUI arrests.
Okay,
I have my note wrong. Thanks, Mark. If there's no other questions on this, then I'll move on to the next. So the local roadway safety plan development. How did we come to develop this plan? So we developed a mission and vision statement to progressively reduce fatal and severe injury crashes in Santa Maria. And then we have different emphasis areas of impacted stakeholders, bicycles, pedestrians, seniors, impaired driving, distracted driving, and intersections. And then we developed goal statements to improve on those emphasis areas and to make improvements for each one of those categories. So the emphasis areas: bicyclists, pedestrians, seniors, impaired driving, distracted driving, intersections, and improved data collection and management to help us manage our overall program. So each emphasis area has a goal statement accompanied by strategies to progressively reduce collisions that cause fatal and serious injuries. And so here you can see where we started with our mission and vision statement. We then looked at the emphasis areas, a goal statement for each one of those emphasis areas to improve, and then our strategy to actually implement how we're going to get there. So here is a review of high crash corridors visualized throughout the city and based on the data that we have available. And so the larger, the more bold that it is, the more crashes that we had. And so on the left-hand side, all fatal and severe injury collisions, you can see where those are taking place within the city, and bike and pedestrian involved collisions with cars to the right. And those are the areas that are happening within our city. Those are our focus areas. Here's a summary of mid-block collisions, a heat map of mid-block collisions. And so away from a stoplight, I believe it's with beyond 100 feet from the stoplight, it's considered a mid-block collision. And so people backing out or something like that into traffic, or a fender bender, a rear end or something like that. And then this is a heat map for pedestrian and bike collisions with vehicles. And so as you can see, downtown is a focus area, and Broadway in general. And here's one more way to visualize the data. It's hotspot intersections, the number of incidents at each intersection. And you can see Broadway and Main are our primary offenders, but also Betaravia along with Stoll and Donovan's are our main arterials. So the public engagement process that we went through. So we did a tremendous amount of public outreach in order to engage the community, much of which included community surveys, and so we were able to get actually 498 different surveys completed, which is quite substantial. And so we had project branding, we did a project website, which is still accessible if you'd like to review that. And then we did a whole bunch of pop-up events and did online surveys. We also had a stakeholder advisory group, which consisted of 43 different members, stakeholders throughout the community. We had a kickoff meeting and then 2 public meetings, September 21 and January of 22 with stakeholders. We also did a multilingual outreach utilizing promotores, health linkages program through Santa Barbara County Education Office, and performed an in-person outreach at pop-up events. So that included Elks Rodeo, Cruisin' Nationals event, and Farmers Market. We also did e-newsletters, and we collaborated with the city PIO to get the word out. So here's just a quick summary of the pop-up event at Elks Rodeo. 226 community surveys completed. Pretty substantial numbers. 42% completed in Spanish and 58% completed in English. And notably, of those respondents, there were a substantial amount of bilingual participants that chose to answer in Spanish or in English. And then the pop-up event at Cruisin' Nationals, 217 community surveys completed during that event. Once again, 75% in Spanish and 25% in English. We also got 103 from the farmers market. So the top concern among the public was pedestrian and bike safety. the different things of the solutions that were provided to the public at the time as ideas in the survey were bike lanes and sidewalks, protected crosswalks, and street lighting. The least supported items included speed bumps and speed cameras, reducing speed limits and truck prohibitions, and desired law enforcement focus was distracted drivers, speed limit enforcement, impaired drivers, and red light enforcement. So now we get to grant funding that we would then be able to apply for should this move forward, this plan move forward. So the Highway Safety Improvement Plan, Hsib grant, ATP, we call our Active Transportation Program grant, Road Repair and Accountability, SB1, OTS grants, which we work with the police department quite a bit on as well, Sustainable Communities Program, discretionary formula funding, CMAQ, etc. And our local funding includes Measure 8 sales tax funds. Next steps. So adoption of this local roadway safety plan will establish the city eligibility for Highway Safety Improvement Program, HSIP Cycle 11, and we get to submit up to 3 applications to improve our roads within the city. And HSIP Cycle 11 grant applications are due in September of 22, and they actually just announced the call for projects here a few days ago, and so we'll be able to start submitting in May. And that is all I have for you this evening, and I'm available for questions along with Mark and Jim.
Any questions from the council? No?
It's very thorough.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thorough.
Madam
You're
Clerk,
welcome.
do we have any requests to speak or written correspondence?
No, Madam Mayor, we do not have either. Thank you.
Okay, I'll bring this item back to the council for any further discussion and/or a motion.
I move.
Okay?
Second.
Can you state the motion, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I motion to adopt a resolution approving the Santa Maria Local Road Safety Plan.
And the second.
Councilmember Waterfield, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Escobedo?
Aye.
Councilmember Waterfield?
Aye.
Councilmember Soto?
Aye.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Madam Mayor Patino?
Aye. Can I ask a question? I guess I can ask it of you, Mark. So to qualify for the grants that we apply for, so is it, and this is terrible to say, is it beneficial if we are in the worst category?
Less
Well,
worse.
obviously,
Do we go to the top
we
of the line?
we need more help if we're so bad.
Right, so Madam Mayor, for HSIP grants, there's 2 types of grant applications. There's set-aside grants, which the state sets aside a pot of money for things that they'd like to see improvements on. If it's roadway departures, pedestrian collisions, et cetera, each city is available to apply for up to $250,000 for certain improvements. These are all for HSIP and the main focus for the local road safety plan. The other type of grant you can apply for with HSIP is benefit cost ratio. So if there's demonstrated need, people dying, people getting hit and seriously injured, that's your benefit because you're preventing those deaths.
It boosts us up higher on
Correct.
the. Okay.
Correct.
I know that's probably sound like a silly question, but I just, it seemed like the greater the need, because if we're that bad, it's a great need. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah,
Ms. Soto.
That sparked a thought in my head, and it's related to also how we grow and continue to develop, because I'm sure that the way in which our roads are built can oftentimes also make it more likely for people to drive faster.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm thinking in residential areas where the roads are really wide, for instance. And so it's just something to also consider as we are approving projects down the future.
Traffic calming is something we're definitely looking into. So thank you.
And if I may, real quickly, just on that point,
Yes.
Ms. Soto, I think Mark in particular in our group has been very focused on traffic calming projects, and doing slurry seals and restriping projects around town to address that exact concern. And I think if you recall back to the slide where we've gotten better each consecutive year, I think it speaks to the efforts that we've been doing in the engineering department to try and better our roadways each year. So that's a point well taken.
Thank you. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, just a comment.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for what you guys do in the Public Works Department. I've worked with you guys before, and there's a great team. There's a great energy. You guys rock. So I just want to express that.
Thank you, Councilmember Escobedo.
Thank you. Before I go to oral reports, I just wanted to give an announcement that Santa Barbara County Broadband Strategy Development Project, they're having a public information meeting on April 26th. That is next Thursday at Santa Maria Shepherd Hall in the Public Library from 2:30 to 4. So anyone interested in the broadband and getting more information, and that's next Thursday, April 26th from 2:30 to 4. Okay. Next item, be report by City Manager, Mr. Stillwell.
Sure, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next meeting of the City Council is May 3rd. We have a couple of proclamations of note. One would be the Water Awareness Poster Contest winners. That's always fun, and we'll have that next month or on the May 3rd meeting. And then another notable proclamation is the 100th year anniversary of the United Methodist Church diagonal across the street. It's nice to recognize their longevity in the community. And then one of the presentations would be a presentation of the regional broadband effort. We will have Bill Simmons and Maria Kelly come to the council and explain what you just, or elaborate on what you just announced, Madam Mayor. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll have oral reports from City Council members. Ms. Soto, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Mayor. On Wednesday, March 23rd, I attended the Downtown Revitalization Committee meeting via Zoom. And on Thursday, April 7th, I attended the Central Coast Regional Equity Initiative for policymakers and philanthropy leaders. The Fund for Santa Barbara hosted this event, and essentially they released data on like the state of the Central Coast, and in there it talked about the housing crisis when it comes to inaffordability along the Central Coast. And it's fascinating to have learned that the Central Coast is one of the most expensive areas to afford to live in the entire nation. And so it was quite informative, and I'm sure that they would be happy to share that PowerPoint presentation or that presentation with anybody who may have not attended. And the last thing that I would like to request during this time is for us to agendize the rent stabilization for mobile home parks. Now that I know that there's more than just one person on the council that's interested in having that be an item on the agenda, I'd like for us to move forward with that.
Thank you. Ms. Waterfield?
I have no report of items to.
Mr. Escobedo?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, April 6th, I attended the strawberry dinner, and it was great to see a lot of people there and have a lot of fun. Also, on April 11th, I attended an invitation from the Rancho Buena Vista Homeowner Association, and as my duty as council member, I accept the invitation to meet with them and hear what their thoughts on what they want. And during that meeting, I did agree on bringing their request to put this item in the city council to be discussed. Then on April 13th, I attended a toast for our community that was put together by the Santa Barbara Foundation and the Santa Maria Times. And on April 16th, I attended the really fun and really It was a lot of time, a lot of good time with the Queen kickoff event at the Elks. It was great to see a lot of happy faces, and I wish the best of success to all the candidates. They've been working pretty hard. And they're doing it for a great cause. So, and that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cordero.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the 6th, I did the Ben Hayes Show, the recap the last council meeting. On the 13th, we had a planning committee meeting for our candidate for the United Way for the Elks Rodeo. On the 16th, I also attended the Queen kickoff at the Elks, along with yourself, and, well, I think almost all of us were there, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it really was a well-attended, and it was, I think, to use John Glines' comment there, we're back. And it was really nice to see so many people there. On the 14th of this month, I was at the regular Elks Lodge meeting and witnessed the 2 more young students get honored and Student of the Month and received a certificate. I also was out of town for several days between the last meeting and this one and attended a sports event. My niece was competing nationally in a sport cheerleading event. And I have missed that in my whole life. I had no idea how much energy these young people put into that. 2.5 minutes, these young athletes are just going full bore, flying in the air and flipping and all kinds of stuff. It was really exciting, and it was nice to see that kind of athleticism. And it was primarily young ladies, but there were a few young men involved with it also. And that'll do it for me, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Cordero, I used to be a cheerleader, but I was terrible. I couldn't even do the splits, so
Well,
they always had me in the back doing the half ones.
They actually, the first couple of them scared me. They were flipping these kids up in the air, and I'm thinking, I hope somebody catches them. It was just phenomenal.
They help that too.
Yeah. My niece was not one that got flipped. She was what they called foundation, because she's a very tall girl, and she was the one doing the catching and the flipping. But the little people were ones like you know, they were, but it was very exciting, and they put out a lot of work.
They do. April 7th, I attended the SBCAG and APCD special meeting and went to the special session on the Aquistapache project, which will be coming up soon to the Planning Commission. I also attended the REACH meeting later that day. April 8th, I did a Fighting Back Santa Maria Valley Board meeting. On the 9th, the Filipino Senior Association had their luau, which for people and members from San Luis Obispo County and Santa Barbara County, and I think Ventura County. On the 16th, attended the Elks Queen Rodeo kickoff. I guess they sold out that night, so it was a full house. And on the 18th, I attended the second Rotary meeting on the human trafficking series that was done. And this morning did the Ben Hayes show. And again, I want to announce for everyone, we will be doing the Santa Barbara County Broadband Strategy Development Project Public Information Meeting, April 26th. There will be a huge panel there of different people. Mark Allen from Dignity Health, Joanna Dominguez from People's Self-Help Housing, Antonio Garcia, Superintendent of the Santa Maria Joint Union High School District, Roberto Rodriguez from Boys and Girls Club, Suzanne Singh from the Economic Development from the Chamber, and we will have a senior representative. So try to make that. That's April 26th, 2:30 to 4 at Shepherd Hall. No further business. This meeting is adjourned.